smileyAudiomedia.com or call 323-290-4690. We hope to see you Thursday, February 29th as we close out Black History Month. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
You like your style, though?
At KBLA Talk 1580, we are unapologetic about amplifying the voices of those who have historically been left out of the conversation. As we approach our third anniversary this summer, the problem with talk radio in Southern California specifically, and America more broadly, is virtually unchanged. All day, all night, all white. We make no apologies for our prime audience, but true to the best of our tradition, we're committed to expanding justice and freedom for all. So when we receive messages from listeners like Neil, we just smile.
I realize that I'm not your target demographic, but I love listening to your station as it is the only progressive station on the dial.
That's us. Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Take me back to LA. Take me back to LA. Take me back to LA. Oh. I've laughed and I've cried. I've lived and I've died. Stole from, gambled and cheated. Cut corners outside. I've tried and I failed. Stood tall when they run. I fought a cold war in the dead of the hot sun.
KBLA Talk 1580. We are all in LA in this election, and another candidate is joining me in the studio. So if you're on the YouTubes, you get to see her. She's a tenants' rights attorney, affordable housing activist, single mom, the daughter of undocumented Filipino immigrants, a lifelong Angeleno, and she wants your vote to be the next council member for District 14. Born and raised in Highland Park, she went to Pasadena City College and put herself through college at UCLA. Ysabel Jurado, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. It's much appreciated. So tell me why. This is a fraught seat, right? This is the Kevin De Leon, disgraced council member Kevin De Leon seat. It's going to be a battleground. A lot of people are running. Yep. Why do you want the job?
I want it because I've just had enough of, toxic leadership in this district. 4 times over, we haven't had council members serve the fullest term of council member in this district because of a scandal. We have council member Kevin De Leon, who has a shady backroom deal. Our council member before that is sentenced to prison for 13 years for fraud and embezzlement. The councilman before that moved into our district, left midterm, and then the council member before that also resigned in disgrace because of fraud and embezzlement. And that's the only history of leadership that I know. And I think we need someone who's from and for this community, who's demonstrated that they genuinely care about the community from which they choose to represent. And we just haven't had that this far.
You are also a former AFSCME member, a union organizer, but you've never held elected office, right?
Right.
So, there's a temptation to think, well, I can do it better, but then maybe you get there and you really can't.
Yeah.
What makes you think that you can? You can guarantee us that you won't resign in disgrace, but beyond that, actually doing the job, what makes you think you can do it better without having the experience?
Yeah, so I haven't been an elected official, it's true, but I do have the lived experience of the receiving, the services in this district as, a single mom that was on food stamps, daughter of undocumented immigrants, and having that lived experience as a constituent, I think matters, right? And also as a professional, I'm a lawyer, right? I've defended tenants against evictions during the height of the pandemic at the receiving end of these failed policies, and now as a community lawyer, helping communities buy back land so that they can keep it permanently affordable for residents or businesses, and even like preserving open space, because right now that's the only problem-solving solution we have to intervene in the expensiveness of living. And so I think I have the lived and professional experiences that I think are needed at this time in City Hall, and not being a career politician. But, you know, going back to the brass tacks, like I used to work in City Hall as an administrative assistant to a deputy mayor who oversaw the 14 customer-facing city departments. So Animal Services, Bureau of Public Works, and Department of Transportation. So I know actually the Byzantine acronym soup of City Hall and people that are in it, that I can actually get stuff done. And some of my former colleagues are heads of departments, you know, and so it's like I do know how to navigate the building and can get some of my ideas started.
We were just talking, well, we're always talking because we're unapologetically progressive and we're talk radio. We were talking about people who consider themselves progressive. I'm assuming you do, because you have the endorsements of Eunice Hernandez, Jackie Goldberg, Kenneth Mejia, people that we think of as, or I think of as progressive. What do you say?
I mean, yes, of course. Like, I think, you know, for me, the circumstances of my life have forced me to become more radical and progressive and demand more from our government that seeks to serve us, right? And so pushing for more, like, you know, Controller Kenneth Mejia is, you know, progressive and change what it means to be a controller. People didn't even know what that was until he got in there. And now he's giving checks and receipts, and we're like, that's how you're spending our money? And like shining light on the issues that we care about, whether it's public safety, homelessness, and housing. And, you know, Councilmember Eunice Hernandez, that's my girl. We grew up on other side of, like, you know, on the different sides of Highland Park. And we just saw, like, I think we were the same age. We saw gentrification take hold of our community. We've seen what public safety, or, you know, does when it criminalizes people we love. And we've just have been shaped in the same way. And so, yeah, wholeheartedly.
When, okay, so, you know, we talk about this progressive bloc on the city council,
Yes.
and so I'm assuming you would consider yourself to be part of that. But when we look at the way forward for LA, we are still dealing with the divisiveness and the aftermath of the Kevin De Leon, Nuri Martinez, Ron Herrera, Gil Cedillo train wreck.
Yeah.
What needs to be done to bounce back from that, and what part could you play in that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, those tapes come up at the doors. Those tapes are coming up in other places.
But at the doors, you mean when you're door knocking?
When you're door knocking.
Okay, yeah.
You know, like even if people don't know who their council member is and we remind them, they're like, oh, that guy? The one that was called by the president to resign and sent us a letter that said, I'm sorry, I've taken full accountability. I was like, yeah, that guy. You know, that it's coming up, and it's still divisive, especially in like CD14 when you knock on the doors. It's a really diverse community. That's how I'm born and raised in LA, like multiracial, multi-ethnic community. That's just my life and my language. And to have people that are progressive and name only actively gerrymander districts against communities of color, Black folks, other folks, is really destructive. And so we're building a coalition, a multiracial coalition of folks, so that we can uplift that and have like healing in this district and in LA, you know? And, you know, we have a real sincere opportunity. Like, progressivism maybe is conflated with multiracial, like, you know, racial equality. But I think they're two, you know, racial equality is so important, and it needs to be substantive. We need to provide communities with material change. And so wanting to push that forward, I think I just rambled a bunch, but
no, I mean, well, it felt like it for you, but that's because you're on the radio. It sounded fine. But the questions of, you know, substantive change, I think substantive impacts is what really I hear a lot on the radio. We're tired of platitudes.
Yeah.
So give me an example of something you would like to do that falls in that category.
You know, like I would have, like, the rent increase that just went forward for rent controlled units, after, starting February 1st, City Council decided to raise the rent increase for rent-controlled units up to 4%, right? And I just did a video because I met someone on the campaign trail, a tenant who's a senior who's making $900, who pays $600 for rent. His roommate moved out. This is just for a studio. And now it's going to be raised up to 6%, including increases with utilities. That's his rent now is like $700. That leaves him $200 or $250 every month to live. And I'm just like, look, when we're still thinking about people that are recovering from COVID rent debt, increasing the rent by 4% has a material impact that's really going to set people back. Or like this person, they're going to fall into homelessness. And we don't have enough senior affordable housing or low-income transitional housing or interim housing in the city to house our seniors. And so I think, I would have voted differently on that for sure.
Interesting. We're talking with Ysabel Jurado, and she's running for CD 14. The battle for CD 14. She is a contender. She wants your vote, and we'll find out more about why she deserves your vote and how she intends to get it when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
Hey, I have a secret. I use Secret Whole Body Deodorant because more than just my armpits stink.
Oh, can I use it where my bra rubs under my...
Oh, yeah.
And what about down there? My...
Totally. 4 out of 5 gynecologists would recommend it. So I tried it, and now I get 72 hours of freshness. From my pits to my...
Ooh, I love that it's a spray.
Me too. And it comes in sticks and creams too. Go get your Secret Whole Body Deodorant.
Meet Cheryl.
Hey.
She's on vacation and lost in the moment. Unfortunately, so is her Chase debit card.
It's gotta be somewhere.
Maybe she lost it at salsa night.
These skirts should have pockets.
Or maybe she lost it at Pilates.
3 and 2 and...
But she's not worried. With the Chase mobile app, she can lock her card till it turns up. Tools that help protect. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so, as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com. Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Stay Housed LA has the resources you need to know your rights and the legal support to back them up. The COVID-19 pandemic has cost people their jobs and livelihoods. This has left an estimated 1/3 of households not being able to make rent and facing losing their homes. This is a fear no one in our community should have to face. You have rights, though, and Stay Housed LA is here to help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between the County of Los Angeles, the City of Los Angeles, and local community and legal service providers. Together, they provide tenants with the information and support needed to exercise their rights so they can remain safely in their homes. Find out more about your rights by participating in a virtual tenant workshop. Get the legal assistance you need. Find additional resources in Los Angeles County and the City of Los Angeles. Stay connected to Stay Housed LA County for updates. This and more at stayhousedla.org. Stay connected to Stay Housed LA for updates. This and more at stayhousedla.org. That's stayhousedla.org. Or call their hotline at 213-694-0040. We've got your Black with a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
And it's election season. We are your election information station. All of these interviews are available at KBLA1580.com. There's a hub where they're all in one place and easy to find, or you can find them wherever you get your podcasts. Ysabel Jurado is running for Council District 14 on the Los Angeles City Council. Your website says one of the reasons that you want to run is because you know the power and clout of the LA City Council. And it is true. I mean, it's almost like being a mayor, right? A lot of towns have less than 250,000 folks. So when you think about that clout, how would you like to use it?
I mean, for me, it's like the whole city council in the past 4 years has had 4 council members indicted for corruption, basically. And for me, power, when it's accumulated, that's what causes the corruption, right? And for me, I want to make sure that power is shared with communities. And so I'm committed to co-governance and bringing the folks that help elect me into the building, whether that means alerting them about a new sale in their neighborhood so that they can mobilize to buy it or provide public comment on those changes. When, a street vending ordinance is going to come up, I'm going to call in the community members that are going to be most affected by it and center them in my policy decision making. And so, for me, it's all about sharing the power and having co-governance because we just haven't had that. LA Times is endorsing one of your opponents, did not give you the endorsement, endorsed Assemblymember Miguel Santiago. What do you have clapback for them? Look, I respect the LA Times. They're going through some hard times right now and some changes. I think I got a great honorable mention there, so I appreciate that. But I think for me, it's like, look, LA City Council, what we think is experience, from Sacramento, flying back and forth. I don't know if that's the experience that we need right now in City Hall. That experience has shown us that it's becoming a mold in City Council where people go to Sacramento, they get their quote unquote experience, they come to LA City Hall with that experience, which ends up being baggage that we as taxpayers have to pay for because of shady backroom deals. And so I'm just challenge people's perception of what they value as experience, right?
Well, your shout out that you're talking about, it says grassroots candidate Ysabel Jurado, a tenants' rights attorney running to the left of Santiago. And they give you the progressive crown here, is also a strong candidate. They say she speaks with refreshing clarity and authenticity about the need for radical changes to City Hall. She wants to reduce the size of the LAPD and reallocate money towards unarmed crisis response and other community priorities. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is. I mean, we spend so much just even on our helicopter program, right? $50 million. There are 14 other departments in the city that don't have money like that, like their overall budget. And we're heading into a deficit, right? Where we're going to cut jobs from other departments, but we haven't because they're vacant. And we haven't cut jobs in the LAPD because they're vacant, right? And we're going to not have tree trimming. And tree trimming right now, I think it's already 12 years to get your tree trimmed. Council districts can only repave 2 alleys a year, and streets get repaired in a 7-year interval.
And with this rain, we're going to need a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Because here come the potholes.
Right.
They also say that you want to repeal the city's law banning camping.
Yeah, 4118. I'm totally against that. You can't just sweep people up into housing that doesn't exist. And it only ends up being they go from one corner to another, and criminalizing homelessness doesn't solve homelessness. It actually makes it worse because you're usually sweeping up their driver's license, material like legal papers that they may need in order to get properly housed. And there was just an article the other day about how we're spending so much on Narcan, and actually when we conduct those sweeps, we're sweeping up all the Narcan that we're spending money for. And so folks in Skid Row are actually stapling bags of Narcan to trees so that they won't get swept up and will actually be available.
Wow. So what do you do? Because there's, but there's kids. You're a mama, right?
Yeah, I am.
There's people bringing kids to school, kids trying to play in neighborhoods and parks, folks just wanting to walk down the street and go shopping, and the entire community has turned into a an encampment, how do you protect those folks, working class folks who also have a right to enjoy, you know, safety and just life?
Yeah, no, I totally hear that. You know, I do worry about my daughter when we're walking on the streets or if she goes alone. And so I really feel for them. But it's like, you know, we have the money to make investments in homelessness, and we've put a lot of money towards it, actually. But if you even look at council districts like Councilmember Soto Martinez, he has 7 interim housing sites in his district, and he's only been there for 2 years? I think, or almost a full term.
Something like that.
Yeah, right. And Councilmember De Leon only has 2 interim housing sites, and he's been there for a full term. And I think, you know, we need to be investing more in that. And he has discretionary funds of $1.5 million that we could be putting towards those goals to make sure we can have some kind of housing available for these unhoused folks.
The city council just voted to sort of decriminalize, I guess, street vending. Like now you can, you know, there were certain zones you're not allowed to do street vending at, and they unanimously voted on that. I kind of, you know, not that it matters what I think, but I have mixed feelings about it because I'm thinking about brick and mortar businesses that have been there forever. I'm thinking about people selling hot dogs on cookie sheets everywhere. You know, I don't know. I hope I'm not turning more conservative. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think it's like they decriminalized street vending and then they authorized it in different commercial zones. Right. You know, which to me, it's like, that just sounds like zoning. Right. Which we obviously all accept. But I think it's like, folks, it's a response to limited pathways to economic self-determination. That street vending is our point of entry for a lot of folks. So
okay. So so is drug dealing, but
I mean that's
a point of entry for some folks.
Well, that's why we had to give them other opportunities. Like every time I'm at a union interview, I'm asking them, why aren't you in high schools already? Like the wood shop classes with carpenters. When you tell this kid that you can make money and you're gonna have a job, once they get started on that, they're not going to, I thought working at the mall because I made money was going to be my job for the rest of my life. Just because I was like, I don't have to rely on my parents. I can make money by myself. I'm just going to do this and leave the house. And then, you know, eventually hit your ceiling on that one.
At least for me. You become a lawyer and advocate for people, right?
A public interest one. So my parents were upset.
They want you to be a corporate lawyer.
Yeah, they were like, how come your paycheck has very little zeros? Yeah.
Well, why did you choose that?
I mean, I chose to do it based on my lived experiences. It was like me trying to resolve the problems I saw my family faced and wanting to fix it. Like, my dad was undocumented. He was telling me his issues of wage theft when he was unemployed from 2008. And I was like commuting to school. So we actually hung out a lot during that time. And he was like regaling me with all these stories. And so that's why I went into defending workers against wage theft. And then I switched to what does economic racial justice look like? People are oppressed at work, but they're also oppressed in their neighborhoods. How does that manifest? Manifest in rent increases for small businesses and for renters. And thinking look, if a senior doesn't have their local ethnic grocery store anymore, even if they're a rent controlled unit, they're going to have to take the bus to go somewhere else just to do that. Or if the McDonald's is a meeting place for a lot of people in a neighborhood and they get their gossip. And if it's not there, then they're losing their community, you know? And so that's why I got into that work, because of, gentrification I saw.
And when in the context of city council members do have some power over what developments go forward, as we found out with Jose Huizar, et cetera. What can be done to stem gentrification, but still bolster, the good side of change and development?
Yeah, definitely. Look, I am for development, but I am for development without displacement, right? Making sure that communities that have been historically, been predated on by corporate interests will actually have a chance at self-determination. And so one of the policies that I'm a big fan of is the Tenant Opportunity Purchase Act, or Community Opportunity Purchase Act, which is in DC, it's in Detroit, it's in San Jose, I think it's in Berkeley, and it's basically allows communities to intervene in the development process. Like the sale of the building is the site where displacement happens the most, right? Look at Barrington Plaza. It's like 500 units, 500 tenants or families. And so, the Tenant Opportunity Purchase Act allows tenants to have the right of first offer to buy their building, or a community org, like a nonprofit, like a community land trust. I know there's Liberty out here, would be able to buy, do the first offer. It's not a guarantee that they're going to be able to buy it, but it allows them to shape the conversation of what are the community's needs and wants? Because right now, people just buy and sell without that conversation happening, or it happens at the end, right?
Okay. Time flies when you're on the radio. Your pitch. Why should we vote for Ysabel Jurado for District 14 City Council?
I am from and for this community. I'm daughter of undocumented immigrants, single mom. I've been through it, and I've been fighting for this community in my career at the front lines of the housing and homelessness crisis. And we need a new voice on city council, someone who's not beholden to corporate interest and a progressive in name only, and, a true grassroots champion willing to push the radical agendas in council as much as we can.
That was quick. YsabelJurado.la, is that?
Yes.
It's with a Y, Ysabel, Jurado with a J, Jurado, YsabelJurado.la. And social media?
Oh, Ysabel Jurado LA. On all platforms.
Ysabel Jurado, LA. Keep it consistent. And we can find out more about what you're doing in your campaign there as well. Thank you so much for coming in and talking with us this morning.
Thank you.
It's much appreciated. We got one more candidate for you today. He's running for Assembly District 57. That's next on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Amazon may soon show you the name and photo of the person delivering your package. The information reports it's part of a test aimed at protecting the company's flex delivery drivers. Amazon may also provide those drivers with Amazon-branded stickers and lights to put on their cars, since oftentimes they use their own vehicles. The move is likely in response to a report last year saying flex drivers have been threatened after being mistaken for intruders. The third season of College Hill Celebrity Edition is set to be filmed at Xavier University of Louisiana. The show depicts a day in the life of an everyday student at an historically black college or university. 6 comedians, musicians, actresses, athletes, and reality TV stars will interact with the student body at the New Orleans school. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Some people just know the best rate for you is a rate based on you with Allstate, not one based on anyone else. So if you drive safely, you could save money. Good to know. Visit allstate.com or call for a quote today.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers will go into tonight's home game against New Orleans with the best record in the Western Conference. At 34-15, the Clippers are a half game ahead of Oklahoma City, Minnesota, and Denver. OKC and Minnesota lost last night to move the Clippers into the top spot in the West. The Clippers are coming off a 6-1 road trip. They are 15-3 since January 1st and 19 games over 500 for the first time since April 11, 2021. Tip-off time tonight is 7 p.m. on ESPN. The Lakers are off until Thursday night against Denver at Crypto.com. Top 5 women's college basketball teams in this week's AP poll: South Carolina, Iowa, North Carolina State, Colorado, and Ohio State. UCLA is 9th, USC 10th. Top 5 men's teams: UConn, Purdue, North Carolina, Kansas, and Houston. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Got me a down girl on my team.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe we have the best tag team in morning radio. Dominique DiPrima and Tavis Smiley. As the first black woman in Los Angeles to anchor a morning drive talk radio show, Dominique covers local politics like a blanket. Weekday mornings from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. At 9 a.m., Dominique passes the baton to Tavis Smiley, who talks to everybody about everything every day until 12 noon. KBLA's dynamic duo, Dominique and Tavis. It's no wonder the LA Civil Rights Department is honoring Dominique DiPrima this year at its Tell Our Story honoring black journalist leaders and storytellers event, Thursday, February 8th. Or that the John M. Langston Bar Association of Los Angeles is honoring Tavis Smiley at its 47th Annual Installation and Scholarship Awards Gala with its Community Impact Award on February 10th. We couldn't be more proud of Dominique and Tavis, who make black history every day, not just in February. If you're missing Dominique and Tavis weekday mornings on KBLA Talk 1580, you're missing out. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
Holla, yeah.
It's never been faster or easier to be a voter. Look for your vote by mail ballot in the mail. Fill it in and drop it off at a mailbox on your way to work, on your daily walk, or when dropping the kids off at school. Save time and vote early. Make a plan to vote at plan.lavote.gov. That's plan.lavote.gov. Brought to you by the Los Angeles County Registrar.
We're not for everybody, but we're for everybody. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
We're talking with Akili, the man of many names, or one name, Akili, Greg Akili, Baba Akili. All of those persons are the founder of the Fannie Lou Hamer Institute, lead organizer for Black Lives Matter LA, and also, a member of the KBLA 1580 team. So you may be like, candidate, but yes, you are running for Assembly District 57.
Yes.
Welcome.
Yes. Good morning, and welcome to the welcome to the KBLA family. Thank you for having me on. I always enjoy being on, and as I am fond of telling people, I was your first guest for your first show when it first started.
I love that you care.
That I'm serious. That was quite an honor for me.
Well, this is a tough race. I mean,
yes,
and it's a statewide race. People spend money,
yes,
big money, because California is a big state. I feel like, you're a longtime activist. You've worked on many a campaign. You know the space, but you are kind of running what do they call it, a dark horse candidacy?
Absolutely. I'm an outsider with running as the the kind of non-conventional, non-established candidate.
And I know politics. In fact, I'm really tempted to talk to you about everything that's happening in the House of Representatives, but we're here to talk about your candidacy.
But that was a wild night. I mean, one of the things that it underscores is the chaos within the Republican Party.
Right.
That if, you can't trust these people to govern. Even if you agree with them on policy, you can't trust them to govern because they are so far in disarray and dysfunction that even when they get into power, get into position, they can't do nothing.
Yeah, and then Congressman Al Green come in. Let's stay together. Anyway, but why, with all of the strategic background that you have in politics and as a community organizer, why run a long shot candidacy?
Because there's some things I strongly believe in and I want to fight for. I'm fighting for now. I believe that housing should be a human right. I'm the chair of the Liberty Community Land Trust. You heard the last guest talk about TOPA. We have been fighting and working on TOPA for a long time. The tax opportunity credit that gives people in facilities the first right of refusal, at least if you can raise the money to buy the place you're living in. That makes sense. But I'm already doing that. But I want to see more investment in community land trusts. Land trusts are nonprofit community developments that buy housing and at affordable price and keep it affordable. And and allow people, in many cases, it could be their first home, but they can't just move out and take it equity and leave. It has to be, sold to or rented to a person of equal income. So we keep it So those are things that I believe in. I'd like to see a renters' rights division within the housing department. Renters have rights, but there's an unequal relationship between the corporate landlords and what most renters, their rights. And so if there was a division within the housing department where renters could call to find out what they can do and be protected, that's a simple service that the state can provide. And then finally, I think that with an investment in land trust, I would like to see the state, for every dollar the feds give, I'd like to see the state give a dime, and we could build more affordable housing, particularly Section 8 housing, because right now, Section 8 housing, if you're on it, you can be on it for decades and never get a voucher. But it's fast, affordable housing. And that's ultimately what we're going to need to get people off the streets. One of the things I'm exceedingly proud of is Pastor Q and Pete White have been my biggest supporters. And they've helped me understand the houseless situation on Skid Row, what can be done, what needs to be done. I've had
Pete White from LA Can and Pastor Q from Creating Justice
Justice.
LA, yeah.
Yes, and Church Without Walls. They both have been tremendously helpful to me in understanding the conditions, understanding what needs to happen. And I would make them a part of any approach that I would take toward housing. And then the other thing for me is something I've been working on for many years is healthcare as a human right with a single payer system. Most industrial democracies have it. It works. We spend more money for healthcare than any other country in the world, and we cover fewer people. That's a contradiction. If you spend this much money, you should be able to cover everybody with the best health care in the world. But we don't, because we have a middleman that takes 35 cents out of every dollar, every healthcare dollar. And so
you're talking about the insurance
companies.
Yeah.
But they don't provide healthcare. They only provide the paper so that the people who provide healthcare can get paid. And there are ample examples of other ways to do it. The Veterans Administration doesn't do that. The Medicare doesn't do that. And they take 3 cents out of every dollar. And I have been a single-payer advocate since the late 80s, early 90s.
But here we are in a tough budget season. The odds of a universal health care passing in California at this time are pretty slim. We couldn't do it when the budget was flush.
Well, we couldn't do it because...
we could have done it.
Yeah, we could have done it.
Is what I
but
said.
Part of the reason why we couldn't do it is because of the insurance industry have blocked it, and in some cases pharmaceuticals have blocked it, but certainly the insurance companies have blocked it. And one of the things, there's legislation right now, HR AB 1400 CalCare, which would put us on the road to a single payer system and a transformation system, so that the people who are currently working in the healthcare insurance industry would be able to transfer and have jobs and the rest. But it would get us on the road. Those are things that I care about. I want to see good jobs, but I also want to see our economy grow. And one of the things that can help it grow is if we could tie the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, to wages. Because right now we have they do it in Maryland. Every 2 years they look at the wages and they look at inflation. And if the prices of goods and services are going up, the wages go up. It just makes sense because we live particularly in Los Angeles and in California, it's expensive. If we tie CPI to wages, that whenever
at least the minimum wage, right?
At least the minimum wage and when inflation goes up or the cost of living goes up, so would the wages.
Then you get a raise, right?
Yeah, and it would, it could at least keep us, at least begin to balance out. It won't balance it out because the cost will always rise faster than the wages, but it will at least keep our heads above water, and we won't be drowning in prices that we get. But I also want to fight for a workers' bill of rights because I think as we move into the gig economy, there won't be any. We'll all wind up being independent consultants, and none of us will be able to get unemployment insurance or a workers' comp because nobody pays into it.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I think we're pretty much almost there at this point. Akili, the Reparations Task Force delivered their 1,200-page recommendation, which I'm trying to get through. And now the Legislative Black Caucus of the state of California has put forth a few bills, a package of bills to start to address this. There's been a lot of talk about it, some disappointment. What do you think of those bills, and what do you think? I'm not even going to ask you if you support reparations because I already know you do.
Since 1989.
What's the way forward, and what do you say about that legislative agenda so far?
Yeah, I think it's opening a door. I think it's one of the things that has. One of the things that has happened is that it has opened the door and put it on statewide discussion about a process to actually get reparations. I know many people's like, I want the check. I don't want to hear about nothing else. But I'm on the board of the Institute of the Black World 21st Century and NARC, and I think you've had Ron on here before.
Yes.
One of the things that NARC does, the National African American Reparations Commission, is a 10-point program. And a lot of that 10 points, many of those 10 points are how do we make investments in our people and our communities to make sure that we can begin to lift people up, not just always give people checks. I believe in the checks. I think that we deserve the checks, and I think that that this is an opening. This is a good start. The other thing is, the package that I kind of reviewed. It does begin to get to some of the systemic issues that exist, and it's a way to once again advance. And I like the fact that we start with an apology, where California.
So you still think an apology is important?
Yes, I certainly do, because without that, you can't really move to the next. If you don't recognize and acknowledge wrong, hurt, harm, and damage, then you just kind of move on, and it's like, well, okay, yeah, that was bad, but no. A public apology begins to at least. It's the same reason when you know you're wrong and you've certainly been reaffirmed in that wrongness. You make a sincere and public apology. You don't just say, "Well, okay," you and move on. So that's a beginning. I think these packets of bills are an opening. They're not enough, and I think it's going to take a few more years of struggle and a few more years of involving people in the community, as has been to get here in the first place, which I want to be a part of. I've supported reparations since 1989, since the first introduction of House Resolution 40, that Conyers, and I have been working on that ever since, and I will continue to do that. I understand it, I'm committed to it, and I will fight for it.
Talking with Akili, a.k.a. Baba Akili, a.k.a. Greg Akili. I think it says Greg Akili on the ballot, right?
It actually does.
Greg Akili on the ballot, running for the 57th Assembly District. We'll hear more of why he thinks you should vote for him when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
KBLA Talk 1580 is the exclusive media sponsor of this light of ours, activist photographers of the Civil Rights Movement. A dynamic new exhibition on view now at the Skirball Cultural Center in Los Angeles. This light of ours showcases more than 150 photos taken by movement insiders from diverse backgrounds that reveal the vital work undertaken by a broad coalition of organizers and everyday people whose collective action changed America. This light of ours is one of 3 temporary exhibitions currently on view at the Skirball, which together explore issues related to civil rights, immigration, and pluralism. Tickets and more information for all 3 exhibitions are available at skirball.org. That's skirball.org. SKIRBALL.org.
Did you know COVID-19 vaccines have been updated this season? They're one of the best ways to help protect yourself against recent variants, and most people in the U.S. should continue to pay nothing out of pocket for COVID-19 vaccines. Uninsured or underinsured adults can receive them at no cost at participating Bridge program locations, and eligible children can receive them through the Vaccines for Children program at participating providers. For children, COVID-19 vaccines are at no cost, but there may be fees such as for the visit or administration. Book a vaccine option at schedulecovidvax.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Of course I use Mr. Clean Magic Eraser to clean tough messes off my stovetop and bathtub. But then I discovered I can also use it to easily clean my patio furniture and even my shoes. I'm hooked!
And when wipes won't cut it, I use Magic Eraser Sheets. They're thin and flexible erasers, perfect for everyday messes, like gunk on my counters and sinks. They really are magical.
The reviews are in. Mr. Clean Magic Eraser and Sheets make cleaning look easy.
LADWP is proud to partner with KBLA to share with you how to start the new year without bill worries. We're here to help if you're behind on your bill or need help staying current. Sign up anytime online for Level Pay to set predictable monthly payments throughout the year, including for past due amounts. You can also check out the special extended pay arrangements of up to 48 months to help pay down your bill. If you're a senior or income qualified, you may be eligible for Easy Save to receive discounts and also qualify for free and discounted energy and water saving devices. You can get up to $15,000 for past due water and or sewer bills and up to $3,000 for electric bills. But you gotta act fast. Funding is limited. You can reduce your past due bills and kick off the year right, because here at LADWP, we're here to help. Visit ladwp.com/cares today and find out more.
We all agree that America has a very serious problem.
Okay, KBLA delegation, we need your help as we launch our 2024 Climate Justice Campaign. We would deeply appreciate you going to our KBLA 1580 website and filling out a short climate justice survey, which will help us better serve our beloved community as we build out this campaign. It'll take you just a few short minutes to complete the online survey, and the information you provide us will be invaluable as we do our part to hold folk accountable and amplify the voices of our people in this climate conversation. When you take the survey, you'll be automatically entered to win seats at our annual Black History Month luncheon, Thursday, February 29th. So, hit our website at KBLA 1580. Help us out by taking the short climate justice campaign survey, and you could be our guest at our annual Black History Month luncheon, Thursday, February 29th. Thank you in advance for your consideration and cooperation. At KBLA Talk 1580, we care about the community, we care about the climate. We care about the climate. This is KBLA Talk 1580, where everybody is somebody and nobody is a stranger. You belong here.
Akili is with me, aka Baba Akili, aka Greg Akili, as he appears on the ballot running for the Assembly, the State Assembly, District 57. And so I'll ask you right now, before we get to the top of the hour, give us your 1-minute pitch why we should vote for Akili for Assembly, District 57.
Because I've been on the front lines fighting for social justice and human rights for many decades. I want to take my experience, my leadership, and my results to fight for the things that I believe in. Housing as a human right, healthcare as a human right, restorative justice, good jobs, and a workers' bill of rights. And I want to be the voice for and with the people of South Central. I want to build a movement for a better South Central, a better Los Angeles, and a better California.
You famously founded the Fannie Lou Hamer Institute. You work with Black Lives Matter LA. And right now, as we speak, the governor's deploying 120 CHP to Oakland. And from what I'm reading now, they're it's part of this law and order reaction to a perceived jump in crime. Apparently, there is a jump in crime statistically in Oakland, although it's down in the rest of the state. My understanding is they've elected a progressive prosecutor there in Alameda County, and already they're targeting her. We see what's happening in the DA's race here in Los Angeles. How do you see yourself fitting into the public safety landscape in the state legislature?
There's two areas that I really would like to be involved in, housing and public safety, because part of what I'm doing now is fighting for more transparency and accountability and putting the public in the center of public safety. For too many years, is the law enforcement has been, when we talk about public safety, we talk about the police. Well, I want to talk about the public, put the public in the center of public safety. And so I want to fight for much more transparency and a lot more accountability. And I think that the only way to do that is to be the voice there to fight for it. And I've seen what has happened. I've seen what has happened through my work with Black Lives Matter when we demand accountability. I mean, one of the things that Black Lives Matter is about is ending state-sanctioned violence in all its forms, social, political, and economic. But that starts with transparency and accountability. And so I would very much be involved in that. And too often what we do is we rely on the police solely for everything. You know, if our neighbors are too loud, we call the police. If it's raining too hard, we call the police. If it didn't rain, we call the police. I mean, and they are not, first of all, they're overextended in what they got to do anyway, but they aren't prepared to do it, to do all that stuff, and they do it badly, and they are trained to control the threat and suppress the danger. That's what they are trained on, and they see us as a threat and a danger, and we wind up, in many cases, too many cases, being killed. And so I certainly want to see a lot more accountability and a lot more transparency in law enforcement. So two committees I would be very much interested in being on: housing and public safety.
We were talking off the air about climate justice, because we're both part of this KBLA organization. I know that's important to you. Right now we have a sort of a wrestling match between the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, and the state of California, because California wants to have even tougher standards than the federal standards, but it looks like the feds are going to make us dance to their tune instead of the other way around. What impact can you have on the climate crisis in the state legislature?
Well, I think they're already doing it. I think there's some very good people who are in the assembly who are fighting for real climate justice and real climate change. And I want to connect it to, and by the way, compliment KBLA for doing this, because I think it's an issue in our community that we need to be educated on, involved in, and engage in. So I appreciate that. But one of the things for me as a project coordinator with corporate accountability is, first, we have to hold the polluters accountable. Secondly, we have to kick them out of the room. They have undermined in any efforts at advancing climate change for now over 3 decades. And they have taken the same approach that the tobacco companies have taken for many years. So the first thing that the state has done is begun to go after a lot of these polluters who knew that this was happening, who knew how bad it was, but did it anyway. So we can begin to hold them accountable. Secondly, I think that California is going to have to join many other states that charge oil companies for extracting the oil. We don't.
I know, that's crazy.
Texas does. Oklahoma does.
It doesn't make any sense at all. According to the LA Times, state officials are going to have to take drastic steps in places like LA to curb pollution in order to meet the federal standards, even though our statewide standards are pretty tough. And so you're saying go after the corporations rather than the individuals?
Oh, absolutely. We are led to believe that if we, don't use plastic straws and some other kind of thing, that's going to help. And it will. I get that. But what will help more is to hold the polluters accountable and ultimately remove fossil fuels as the driving force in all our lives in all the ways that it does. And once again, we can't have the thief in the room who has stolen the property sitting at the table saying, let me tell you how to not steal it no more. No, we want them out, and we want to hold them accountable. And I think there are a number of ways to do that, starting with an extraction fee. Like I said, California is one of the few states that Oklahoma does it, Texas does it. Almost all the oil-producing states do that, including Alaska, except for now. And people say to me, brother, if you do that, the gas will go up. No, I would say it doesn't have to. That's not the constant. That's not a constant, particularly when we have anti-gouging laws, and we can enforce those laws. And I would put a sunshine thing so that they would sunset so because people tell me, well, if you charge the oil companies a fee for extracting the oil, they'll just pay the fee and extract it forever. No, we put a sunset on it, and we need that money to begin to fund a Green New Deal approach in California.
I mean, they've been extracting forever anyway, so that's not anything new. So, we just have a couple of minutes left. The time flies when you're on the radio.
Yes.
Tell me something, a standout policy piece that you have in mind for when you are elected to the assembly.
Once again, it'll be fighting for housing as a human right and healthcare as a human right.
But what does that mean, housing as a human right? I mean, it's a slogan, but how do you put it into action?
The first thing is that you have to. There's a simple way to do it. You can pass resolutions that say that, and here's how to standardize it and a time frame for making it real. Because if we see it as a human right, we tend to protect human rights. If it's just another piece of policy, then it'll be taken over. The other thing I want to do is that I want to give local governments the right and responsibility to manage rent stabilizations. Right now, they can't. And we see what has happened now that the pandemic controls that were on, rents have skyrocketed again. Local governments should be able to stabilize the rents if they choose to. There's legislation right now, Costa-Hawkins, that prevents local governments from doing that. And I worked on the campaign to try to overturn Costa-Hawkins some years ago. That would be one of the first things I would want to do. So that would be a big thing. And then the restorative justice programs. And starting with fighting for restorative justice concepts. Right now, once again, we over-punish and we over-incarcerate. We aren't any safer because of either one. Your own survey that KBLA took, if you read it, people say they don't feel any safe, but yet we're locking up more people and we got more police. So it's a contradiction in terms. On the one hand, we lock up more people and we got more police, but yet people feel less safe.
Right. Okay, we're going to have to leave it there. Real quick, tell us where to find your campaign.
You can go to Akili, AKILI, 4, the number 4, thepeople.com on all. That's the website, and on all social media. I would certainly like to discuss these issues with people. One of the things I want to do is having these listening sessions. So Akili for thepeople.com.
The number 4. Tavis Smiley is up next. It's been quite a lively day, and more to follow. I'm Dominique DiPrima. History is now, and we are making it together. I'll end with the quote. I don't even know who said it, but we say it all the time. When we fight, we win. Until tomorrow, one love.
Thank you.
KBLA